very good morning to you. As you have been told by Ayub, we are okay. But please do check on your Manchester United fans, your friends who support Manchester United. We are unajua kuna comeback. Mtu anakuongelesha unasema tu ni sawa asante. Because there's nothing you can say. At least tulipita jana. Yesterday was also the 7th. And because we are talking about the economy, economic recovery, etc., I want to encourage you to increase. Wala watu wananitumia 7 bob. Please increase. 7,000. Kitu naweza save hata nianzisha nayo kwa biashara. Unaona? Sawa Ayub. I'm expecting $7,000. All right. Well, I guess one of the biggest conversations ever since this particular, and even before this government, the last government, this government, it's a conversation that's been carried through. It's that of, empowering the youth, number one, and in all of them, at least in all the manifestos that I saw, there was a talk of unemployment and supporting businesses, small businesses, small businesses, all of this, and giving them that environment that they can be profitable, they can be sustainable, and we can make some money. Today I want to talk about that, empowering Kenyan businesses, to innovate for growth, and we have able panelists to help us with that discussion. I'll allow them to introduce themselves. I'll start with you.
Thank you, Willis, for having me.
Yes.
My name is Sami Karanja. I'm the CEO of MSME Alliance of Kenya.
All right.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Morning, Willis.
Morning.
And Paul Sana again. Comfort to you, new people. My name is Franco Aroinge. I am the Regional Director for Stanford Seed East Africa.
All right. So I guess I'll start with you, Frank.
Yes.
Even as we demystify and talk about some of these terms, when you talk about innovating for growth, on paper it looks like, wow, this is such a strong word, but what does it mean for a business?
Yes, I think when people hear the word innovation, it always sounds so fancy, like something that I need technology for, something that needs to be brought from America or some other place.
Right.
But I think there are different types of innovation, and at the very basic level, I would say innovation is about improvement. How can you do something better? And so that opens up a lot of opportunities. When you think about it that way, you can think about your business processes, for example. How can you make them better? Whatever products it is that you have, how can you just make them 10% better? Just to serve. So that is kind of what I think about innovation. And when you open it up like that, then everybody starts to think like, oh, if it's only about just having ideas of doing something better, we can definitely talk about that. But there is that effect. If you just talk about innovation, I think a lot of people are put off like, we don't know about that.
It sounds
yeah.
Yes.
It's like something you have to go to school for.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's just improvement.
It's improvement.
Yes.
Right. And so I can call you Sami.
Yes.
Right.
Feel free. Feel free.
Sami, then what then are some of those things do you think that can be done for MSMEs? But first, let's begin in just the business environment generally that can help them improve. Either from, do we start within, from the businesses themselves, or do we start from government level? Let's start from the business themselves. There's a business person who's watching, and there are, of course, all factors are affecting them right now. The inflation, the price of the dollar, all these things affect in one way, shape, or form. What are some of the things they can do to be better, as Frank puts it?
I think in the MSME sector, information is power.
Right.
And one of the things that we lack is that information. Because you find that there are many institutions that profess to build capacity to micro, small, medium enterprises, but they really don't hit the mark. Even if you go to the business sector, you have, the business sector, the private financial sectors, right. You find that there are some banks, financial institutions that profess they have programs to facilitate the SMEs. They lack, or we lack information, especially, let's say, financial literacy. How do you manage your finances? How do you invest? Where do you invest? Who can be who are angel investors? Where can you get money from to invest in your businesses? Now, with that, how do you do bookkeeping? how are you able to track your shilling? So you find that we lack that information, and we have institutions which have that kind of programs, but they are not able to reach out to the SMEs, because majority of SMEs, and I dare say this, we are not very well educated. So, for example, if a person maybe is a standard 8 dropout just because they were not able to go to high school, but they have a very strong business acumen that they can be able to trade, and they are making a lot of money out of that. But you find there's a limitation because of that lack of information and capacity building from within. So even if we decide to go, and the government put policies in place and everything, they may not even know their rights. What is the government doing, and why are they doing what they are doing? And so it starts with capacity building from within. It also narrows down to an individual, making sure that you are out there looking for information. It's not about, there's schooling and there's education. That's right. You may not have gone to school, but you have your own personal initiative to better yourself so that you can get more information. There are people who are probably O levels dropout. They were not able to go to advanced levels, get postgraduate degrees and the rest. But they are doing very well. Why? They have a lot of information. And the other thing is that we also have a portal. You also have Google University. Right. Google University is an access point where you can get a lot of information. You can actually build your capacity there. A lot of information in terms of financial, there's a lot of financial literacy there. Programs which have been broken down to very basic languages that you can be able to understand, consumable languages that you can be able to understand. So it starts from an individual, from within. Before you look at what the government is going to do for you, it's out there to go and look for that information. And also when you look for that information, you're able to build your business, because there are programs even about marketing. So how do you market your products? There are those, they say 7 P's of marketing. So how do you position your product? So that's information out there, but it boils down with an individual, the entrepreneur himself or herself, right, making sure that they get that information. Yes. That's
very interesting you mentioned that. I think the only caveat with Google would be that you have to kind of also, if you have an individual, say Sami, okay, now you have to also Google Sami, and make sure that Sami is qualified to talk about what he's talking about.
Definitely, okay. Definitely, yes.
Yeah, so Frank, going back to, he said, the problem is lack of information. There are programs out there. You have a program, Aspire. What are such programs doing? Like what are they doing to help SMEs and to grow and to become better, like you said?
Yes. So it's a fascinating thing that you say, that he says, that Google has information out there. In fact, we are coming to a place where we're overloaded with information. We are flooded with information. Coming at you from everywhere. Yes, and we have what we call the MOOCs, right? The massive online courses, right? That are there. So anybody can go out there and you can get that information. And then lately we have ChatGPT. Right? Yeah. ChatGPT, you just say ChatGPT, yes, I need a marketing plan, whatever. So that forces people like us, like you have to be differentiated from that. What's the difference between that and what we can do? And I think for a program like Aspire and for Stanford Seed, and maybe just for our viewers, I should put some context into this. So Stanford Seed is part of Stanford University and the Stanford Graduate School of Business, which, without bragging, I would say hands down is the best business school in the world. Without bragging. Without bragging. Putting it out there as facts, Look it up, you will see that best business schools in the world, Stanford, right there. That's where Netflix comes from, LinkedIn comes from, all these massive Nike, all these massive companies, right? And so they have a lot of wealth of knowledge, and you can see that it has been demonstrated by the companies that they produce. And so we have a beneficiary, an alumni of Stanford University, who comes back and says, I have had a very successful career. His name is Robert King, and he has his wife, Dorothy King, and they give a huge gift to Stanford University Graduate School of Business, and they say, we want this money to go towards businesses in the developing world. And that becomes the capital for Stanford Seed. And so Stanford Seed has been around since 2013, started off in West Africa, and then in 2016 came to Nairobi, Kenya. We've been catering to East Africa. And we were targeting a segment of SMEs that has not traditionally been catered to. If you look at Nairobi, you will see a lot of people that cater to startups. right?
Yeah, just like you were saying,
Exactly.
everybody's coming for
Yes,
startup.
exactly. Startups have a lot of support. What we don't see is support for the business, the SME that has already established itself. They have a product in the marketplace. They're probably even in your supermarkets and all of that. And they're just looking to, they see a lot of opportunities, but they just don't know how to make that leap forward. Maybe you're a doctor. You started a little clinic. Suddenly, surprise, surprise, it has become a big hospital. How do you take advantage of those opportunities? And so Stanford Seed comes in and says, let us show you what we've been teaching at Stanford University. Let us show you how to do this in a very practical way. And so to answer your question, the way what we bring to the table is, first of all, we put people similar to you in the same room with you. So you're not studying alone. Right? So we will identify other SMEs that are of the same caliber with you, that we've identified as very high potential SMEs, and we'll put them in the same room with you. And they'll be from different countries within Africa. So for example, you have Rwandese companies, Tanzanian companies. And so what we say...
So sorry, just to cut it short. So when you say the same, is it the same in terms of number of employers, turnover?
Yes.
Or just the same business type?
So we have 3 products. Our flagship product is called the Seed Transformation Program. This is for our big companies. So for those companies, you have to be doing revenues of $300,000 and over. Okay?
Dollars.
$300,000.
Okay, you have to be
and over annually. It's very good. Thank you for pointing that out.
Okay.
$300,000 annually. You have to have at least a management team of 3. A management team, not staff. Management team of at least 3. And you have been in existence for at least 3 years. Okay? And so, in fact, we get such demand for that product that the average revenue tends to be about $2 million. Not even 300,000. So what happened with that product, and so far that has been a very successful product. What happened is that every time we say our applications are open, like they are right now, we get so many applications, we have to say no to so many people. Traditionally, we take 1 out of 9 applicants, okay? So
1 out of 9.
1 out of 9 applicants. So, okay. Yeah, so what happens to the other 8, right?
Yeah.
And so after seeing this for a number of years, we said, you know what, we have to respond to this, right? Because these are people who are applying 2, 3 times, and we keep telling them, you're not there yet, you're not there yet. So we formed a partnership with the African Management Institute, and these guys are great. They've been around since 2014. They're operating in over 39 countries. They have a lot of products that are targeted at that segment just below us. Right. And so that's where the Aspire program came from. And so the Aspire program targets companies that do revenues of 30,000 up to 300,000. Okay, so that was the other demographic that was really trying to get into our program. So this is a 6-month program. Our main flagship program is a year-long product. The Aspire program is 6 months, okay? And they've been doing a fantastic product there for the last 1 year, since 2022. And they've had over 130 companies that have gone through it in that 1-year period. They're taking new companies right now with a deadline for next week. So applications are open. Please open that. And our 3rd product is called Spark. That is for startups now. Okay, and that's for companies below 30,000.
Right.
And all of that.
All right, so I guess to sum it then, as you interact also with MSMEs, right?
Yeah.
So do you think there is enough information and support as well, and should you also challenge Frank Wambi hata sisi on what pale after the last one is called?
Spark.
After Spark.
Yes. You know, when Frank is saying dollars. Sasa sisi watu wana huku nyama kema. And I think SMEs are underrated, and they're the biggest contributors to the economy. MSMEs. Right. We are talking about the micro, small, medium enterprises. If you look at the businesses in Kenya, according to the statistics, 98% of all the businesses fall under that category, micro, small, medium enterprises. And I think the products, like what Frank is saying, and many other institutions, they should also look at the micro. the guys who are making probably 500 shillings on a daily basis, and they're the majority. When you look at the micro and the small, that's where the majority of businesses are. And that is where you have a lot of turnovers and cycles. So you remember we had the Talas and the fintechs when they came. They were targeting a certain the Hustler Fund.
Right.
That one is another story.
Okay.
So when you look at the fintechs when they came, there's a category that they targeted. Obviously, they had losses because some students, they took loans and they went to rave. But that aside, there are guys who build their profile through such fintechs, and they have built their businesses because they are looking for a person or institutions who can be able to lend them, even an overnight lending. Let's talk even about a lady, a girl, maybe a young man, ameanza kuuza maembe, from Odhurwa market, ananunua. He's there at 3 a.m., buys the maembes, then takes them to Ruaka or anywhere or Nakuru. You see, that person probably needs maybe about 10 or 15,000, even 5,000 shillings. Probably they have a kiosk of greens, uko mashinani. And they are going to pay that money within the next 72 hours. So you find that the cycling of the payment cycles are very fast. And that is where the money is. Because many times you find that financial institutions, yes, give and take, they say that there's a high risk of lending money to people who you can't be able to pinpoint them. But there are internal mechanisms that you can be able to form and help the micro, small, medium enterprises. So from the private sector to the government, they have underrated SMEs and the impact of micro, small, medium enterprises. And that's why even when you look at the central bank, they said that any speculation or any projection of the GDP growth in this country, 50% is contributed by micro, small, medium enterprises. So we are one of the biggest taxpayers. We may not be able to quantify the amount of money, right? Because we may not have very organized institutions like KEPSA or Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And that's where now we come in as MSME Alliance of Kenya. When you saw that gap analysis, we said we must be able to have a position in the negotiating table with the government. Because when the government is calling a round table of businesses, they are going to call Kenya Association of Manufacturers, they're going to call KEPSA, who represent micro and small medium enterprises. There is what we call the MCR, but that's the government. What about the private sector? Do they have the language that we speak? Do they understand our business language? Do they understand our needs? When it's coming to policy, financial policies, the financial policies that they make, they are affecting us directly, but they make those financial policies in our absentia. And that is why we decided we have to fight for our spaces in those boardrooms, so that whatever financial policies that they make and they are affecting us, we can be able to hear our voices there. But give and take, SMEs are, every country that takes SMEs seriously, they grow. They grow, the economy grows. Every time you underrate SMEs, the economy goes on your knees, because that's where the majority of the people are. That's where the shilling is being transacted on an hourly, on a minute basis. Right. Yes.
All right, we'll come back and talk about, to borrow the word, the aspiration of the MSME to get to SME and how that can work. But I'll go back to Frank. So what we're seeing, Frank, is another thing is that a lot of majority of businesses in the country, and of course, somebody might challenge me to give majority a number, but most of them, let me say most, yes, are foreign owned. They sometimes look, and I don't want to mention names, they look Kenyan, but if you dig deep, they might even have a Kenyan word as the title of the business, but they're foreign owned. Yeah. What do you think are some of the things that are hindering Kenyans from, owning the businesses and also scaling to, a global level?
Yeah, Will, it's an important point that you bring out there. A lot of the names that are out there in the limelight, these are companies that you will find, yes, there's a strong brand and all of that. If you look, maybe you will find that the ownership is not Kenyan. But we have a lot of Kenyan companies that are very strong. But the people that are making the news usually tend to be non-Kenyan, right, somehow, in the background at least. And the part of the problem is the fact that when we talk about businesses need finance to grow really much. And so when we are thinking about investors, they're usually foreign people. They're usually people coming from the US, from Europe, and other places, and all of that. And without blaming them, I think it's much more, I tend to want to do business with people who I'm familiar with, who look like me, who I can understand a little bit better. So you will find that a lot of investment tends to go to companies, especially in the startup side of things. You will find that it's much easier to raise money when you are foreign, pretty much, right? But we are trying to do a lot of interventions in that arena. First of all, we're saying that the money doesn't have, it's good if the money is foreign, and we'll talk about that, but it also doesn't have to be foreign. We have a lot of people here that have money and are just looking for places to invest it in. So one of the things, for example, last year we were having discussions with the Capital Markets Authority, and the Capital Markets Authority is coming up with a lot of products that are aimed at SMEs to address this very problem that we're talking about. Because it can be very frustrating when you're saying there is money, other people are getting it.
Right.
I don't know why I'm not getting it, exactly. Right? Yeah. So it's good that we start to see that some of our money is going into our companies. But then the other thing that we're doing is that we are preparing our companies. What is it that you need to say to this investor to make them feel a level of comfort? And sometimes
the information that Samuel is talking about.
Exactly. So it's not even sometimes, it's not even before you even say those things, what are the things that you need to do, right? And so the value of programs like ours is that we walk with you to say, we don't teach you about putting business systems and practices in place. We actually help you to do that, to implement things. So it could be that you're an MSME, you've been doing business, you're coming along fine, but you don't have a budget. You don't keep financial records and all of that. An investor
figure like I make 50,000 daily.
All I know is that I buy for 5 shillings and I sell for 10. I know I have my profit. That's it. I don't know anything else. Well, you need records for somebody to start giving you those things. You need permits from the government. You need to be connected to some other resources to do this. So that's where we come in. We give you business coaches. We give you business advisors that come into your company and work with your management team. And we actually want to make sure that you have a proper management team so that when you put together a business plan, you say, here are the people that are actually running this business. I don't want it to be just Willis, right? So what happens if Willis is walking down Kenyatta Avenue and something happens and he's not there? What happens to my investment? I want to look at this business plan and see there is a general manager, there's a CEO, there's a finance manager. This business will keep going on. Then I can have that comfort level to actually put my business, to put my money in it. Right. So these are the things that we're trying to help companies to put systems in place, to put strategies, to have a strategic plan that you can take to an investor. This is who I am. This is where I want to go. I have seen opportunities in Rwanda. I have seen opportunities in Uganda. I am ready to take advantage of them. I just need money. You can come along with me. I'll give you X% of my company, or we will make whatever arrangement, and let's grow together. Right. So that's what we're trying to do for companies.
And I guess I'll ask the same question to you, Sammy, for MSMEs as well. One of the things you mentioned is that that information is lacking. Yes, we have an angel investor, venture capitalist, and all this, but how do they? Are there plans that that you offers the alliance, or rather information to them to kind of, hey, so this is what you need to do to get your house in order? At the very basic.
Yes.
And what are those things?
Yes, we do so, and we have partnered with Equity Bank on the same.
Okay.
Equity Bank has a program that builds capacity to micro, small, medium enterprises.
Right.
And we take our members through, actually it's free of charge. We take them through those programs facilitated by Equity Bank. And one of the things, the modules that they use in terms of trainings, you find that we talk about investments. We talk about, first you have to be, many people, if you ask them what is money,
yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, they may not even be able to answer what money is and what money is for. So it's just like what Frank is saying. You are just thinking about, okay, I need to make 1 million shillings. in this financial year, but how will I make that 1 million shillings? I have this product. So we teach them about, first we teach them about what is money, how can you invest that money, bookkeeping, the record keepings. You have to keep your records so that when you're coming out to financial institutions, they want to see their cash in and cash out, even if it's as basic as cash in, cash out. Right. This amount of money that I came in with, this was the seed money, and this is the profit margins which I've already made, and I've reinvested this money so that you can keep track of your shilling and we can see the growth of your company. And we also do a lot of exposure. There are so many government institutions like KIRDI and the rest, Kenya Institute of KIRDI and also KIE. They have a lot of information. Ministry of Trade and Industrialization, they have a lot of information. That information and opportunities that they have, that information is not well disseminated to micro, small, medium enterprises. Those are programs which are there, training programs, funded by international bodies. We also have even finances, fundings, which are funded by international bodies, which pass through the the Ministry of Trade and Industrialization. But many times they are not out there. So what we do, we go and invoke information. Tell us what programs do you have, which can help our members, and they give us that information, and we now tell our members. It also takes a personal initiative also from our members to come and ask, what else, how can you help us? And that is why we went now to another level of forming a circle. We forming a circle, what we call the MAK, the micro small medium entrepreneurs biashara circle. Why did we do that? The government had said earlier that they are going to disseminate like the Hustler Fund through organized circles. So we positioned ourselves on the same, though we did it earlier, because we saw as much as we are doing capacity building, our members are also looking for finances. So how are we going to partner with our members to make sure that they also have, capital or seed money to start their businesses, or even to inject more money in terms of growth? Because there are some who are growing from micro, they are going to small. Right. Some of them are growing from small to medium, and even some of us have gone even to corporate. That means that now they have the structures and systems that Frank is looking for. They have turnovers of 30,000 or 300,000 US dollars per annum. So for us to be able to assist them to migrate from one sector to another sector, we have put in place deliberate programs to be able to assist in that, and also partnered with other strategic partners and make sure that we have we have them built in terms of capacity. Like after the show, I'm going for another meeting with international donors who want to inject their money into the micro, small, medium enterprises through our platforms. So we go out there to look also for opportunities for them, because if we wait for the government programs, the communication of the government in terms of and they have very powerful programs, let me tell you. The government,
but access to the information.
Access to that information. They have fantastic plans whereby if we are able to implement that, if you are able to inject that information to the micro, small, medium enterprises, I'm telling you, the Hustler Fund even it's not even something to speak about, because these are better than that. So we are looking forward also to having more strategic partners. Now probably some of them are listening to us, more strategic partners. Let's build the economy through micro, small, medium enterprises. They're also going to make money out of that, because you find that even some businesses, they are going to sell shares, as Frank is saying. You'll come and see, for me to go to the next level, I need to do this. Yeah, and lastly but not least, when COVID came, a good number of our members were doing a lot of importation. But when COVID came, we sat down and said, look, we can't be going to China always for, to get toothpicks and to get earbuds and to get all those things. Why don't we also now start cottage industries? Right. Though the government has been very slow in terms of facilitating cottage industries, because the cost of production in Kenya is very expensive, and that is the cost of power. It's very, very expensive. And we also have and I usually say that you also have very, very punitive tax policies, which do not facilitate or cushion cottage industries. So we must see the importance of the cottage industries. We are a highly consuming economy, and we must migrate from a consuming economy to a productive economy where we are doing a lot of production. So we are also deliberate in that to make sure that also our members can look for opportunities. They can do cottage industries. They can come up value addition of products, and we can even sell them here in Kenya instead of taking our products abroad and shipping them back in the country and selling to us at very exorbitant prices.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Frank, maybe also just to say another word that, when you mentioned that people don't even own money. So when you say money, probably people think dollar, shilling.
Yes.
But another word, of course, is inflation. And that is, it's causing a lot of, we see a lot of industries, a lot of businesses.
Yes.
They are either shutting down or scaling down. Cutting costs is a word that is used a lot.
Yes.
But then what are some of the things that, and if COVID, of course, COVID was the shocker that, for that one, there was really nothing we could do. Yes. But I like to believe there is probably some things that can be done for the businesses to survive the low periods in like an economy. Like, for example, in our situation, we've just come off of an election. New government is still settling in. What are some of the advice you could give for some of these businesses in light of the dollar, Ukraine, all these things that are happening?
That's a fascinating question and so relevant because that's exactly the time that we are going through. And I think especially if you talk about it in terms of inflation, people, in one way, that's just a scary term. Again, one of those terms, like we don't know exactly what it is that you're talking about. But then when you tell them its price is going up, right? Things that used to cost 100 shillings are now costing 200 shillings. Oh, people, we know about that, right? So there are a few things that we can do, but some of them are like really basics. And I think people, before you even go up to the sophisticated things, let's first talk about like fundamentals, right? One of the things that both the Aspire program and the Seed Transformation program do is something that we call value chain optimization. And that sounds like something really technical and sophisticated. But what we're saying is become more deliberate about your value chain. And your value chain includes your suppliers. It includes your customers, okay? And even the operations within the business. So for example, the inventory that you hold, right? Traditionally, what we've told people is don't hold too much inventory, because if you hold too much inventory, then that's your cash just sitting there, right? You could buy a whole year's worth of stock from China, then it's just sitting there. That's money that could actually be in your business.
So that go down.
Yes, exactly. But then on the other hand, now you have to start doing the opposite equation in terms of inflation. This thing that I'm buying from China today at 10,000 shillings, because of the way the dollar is going, this thing might be costing me 20,000 shillings in 3 months or something like that. So now I need to start doing the opposite. Maybe it's time for me to start holding more stock now instead of waiting for it to start getting more and more expensive because the shilling is really deteriorating, right? So that's something quite fundamental. You can start to look at your suppliers. What relationships can you form with your suppliers? Sometimes it's even as easy as, if I guarantee my supplier that I will buy X amount of this quantity for the year, then the supplier tells you, then I'm locking in the price right now.
So
right?
No matter what happens in terms of you're safe.
Exactly. So you're safe. So now you know that you've locked in that price, and the big companies do that, like the airlines. The airlines really are supposed to be doing that because fuel is something that's very expensive for them. They lock in the price for the year so that they can start making their plans. We know how much fuel is going to cost us no matter what happens. So even small businesses can do things like that. But another very fundamental thing that small businesses could do. A lot of our small businesses are all about the founder of the business, right? This is the person who's making all the decisions, and the rest of us, the staff, we just look at him like, give us the answer to the question, right? give us all the answers. But one of the things that we have found, and we have demonstrated over and over again, there's a lot of wealth of knowledge within the team that you have, right? And what they need to do is to be empowered to start making decisions, to start looking at the business as if they own the business themselves. And so now it's not just one person who has to come up with the ideas. What do we do next? You start to find that if your managers are really empowered, they're looking and saying, you know, we can save money here. You know, we can talk to this person and maybe they'll give us a better deal. So both the Aspire and the SEED programs really help. It's not just the business leader who comes into the program, it's the whole management team that comes into it. And so we're saying, start talking among yourselves, empower everybody so that all of you start talking about how do we build this business going forward, right? So that's another really basic thing that you could do. Another thing that you could do, and maybe this is the last thing I'll say, is something we talk about diversification, right? Not everything is going up. Actually, there was a chart that I was seeing on LinkedIn yesterday where there was a really nice division between the products that are going up in price. So rent is going up and other things are going, fuel is going up in price. But let's say electronics and software is actually going down in price. So not everything is going up, you know, in whatever.
Right.
So the question then, I think, is to determine, is there another sector that I could be going into? Right? Or is there another product that I can introduce? Or is there a different demographic or customer? So for example, if you could be selling houses, right, for let's say the low income people, and for them they're very sensitive about prices, right? So you really probably can't change. But if I'm a house developer, I could also decide to change and say the people with the money, they're not as affected by this. They probably make their money in dollars, right? So maybe I could do a project for the people who are a little bit more wealthy, right? And by doing that, then I'm assured of some income so that my business is not stalling here because of inflation. So you could diversify sectors, you could diversify your customer bases. We urge you to diversify your suppliers. Don't rely just on the one supplier. Right? Don't just rely on the one customer, because let's say if you're just doing business with one big corporate, they'll get to a point when that one big corporate will say, times are becoming difficult, we don't need to do this, and suddenly you're out. So people, I think the overall theme of what I'm saying is people need to be much more proactive, and you need to start looking ahead and anticipating that this is not a short-term thing that we're going into. If you look globally, you will see that economies are in a lot of flux. So we need to start getting into the habit of asking our team, how do you see the future coming up, and how can we start to prepare for that, right? I think that's a really good habit to start getting into, and then also just becoming more efficient, right? This is the time to stop wasting, right? And so even with individuals, you would say that things are becoming tighter. You don't know whether you'll have your job and all of that. So instead of spending 10,000 shillings every weekend, how about you start to think about maybe host your friends over for a barbecue, stay indoors, spend 2,000 shillings, and that money, put it somewhere or invest it in something to prepare yourself. Because really, it's almost like a biblical thing. You know, you have had 7 good years, and now you're about to go into 7 years of hardship. So prepare for that.
Prepare. So now that is Prophet Frank. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sammy, I'd ask you the same question, because again, even for MSMEs, it happens. Although you said we could say, argue there's a bit more, to use the word loose, liquidity for MSMEs in terms of, like you're saying, the Maemba person from Ruiru to this place. You know, apart from now, when we now go down to the nitty-gritty, you know, subsidy on fertilizer, etc., which is a whole other thing. But what can they also do? Because they are faced with the same. It is either going to be their customer, or because even if you are an MSME selling to somebody else, they're faced with the same. Ule mtu ananua maembe, hata yeye atasema Frank atasema hapa nisinunue maembe leo, let me just chill and save this money for something else. So what can they also do to prepare for, you know, these up and downs in the economy?
I think Frank has said something very interesting and profound when you talk about posterity of a business. And I'm just thinking of the people that I represent. You know, like a good number of our members, the business is me, and me, I'm the business. whereby, and you know, like from where I come from, we name our businesses based on our initials.
Sammy and Son.
Sammy and Son. Or Sammy and somebody. You know, I take the first initiatives of my name and my son, and so we say Sammy and Sons.
Yes.
We must think about the future. We must have structures and systems that are able to support regardless of how small our business is, because you have to make sure that your business has posterity, and that is why you find that so many family businesses they have issues with structures and systems, because the one person is the one who is making all the decisions. If that person is incapacitated in one way or the other, then the business goes down. If that person goes down, the business is shut, because this is a person who knows where the supplier is. This is a person who knows how they talk with the supplier and how much he gets from the supplier. This is a person who knows where the customers are. And actually the customers, when they call, they also demand to talk with that person.
Yeah.
And you have employees.
Right.
And I think it's a high time that we outgrow, you know, we outgrow the traditional way of doing business, and we must engage, and we have now to outgrow and now get into now what probably they may be sophisticated, but it's not, you know, have structures and systems that assist your business to grow. Number two, information. Build capacity. And building capacity means you may not even know anything about accounts, but you can employ a person. You can educate one of your daughters or your sons to do something, and they come and join you in business. Because when you talk about accounts, how much money are you going to pay to KRA? Kenya Revenue Authority? You have to pay for the licenses and all those kind of things that you have to, you know, obligations that you have to meet. So when you look at that, we have to build our capacity, and that capacity is information. We have to get as much information as possible. If we are not conversant with a certain department that is needed in our company, engage guys like Kina Frank and the rest. Bring them on board. Ask them, when you look at my business, what can I do different? I want to grow from this place to this place. Because many times you find that visionaries, they may not have the full, you know, they may not know what to do, when and how, but they have a vision. This is where I am, and I want to go there. So how do I go there? So you get strategic partners, people who can be able to take you to that level. And we also have we even have banks who are doing that. So they come and they sit down with you, they look at your books of account, they look at your turnovers, they also look at the model of the business that you have, and they now advise you and tell you, so where do you want to go? I want to move from this place to the next place. And I have seen a good number of our members, they have even gone to Congo. Why? Because now they have outgrown, they are looking at a bigger market share, you know, of this region. Why? Because they have been able to put those structures and systems. Even if they are not there, their businesses are running. That person can go for a month or 2 months or 3 months without even knowing what is happening in the business, but they get the business reports on a monthly basis. Right. And they can be able to trace their shilling. They can be able to look at where they are at. And I think it's a high time we do that as micro, small, medium enterprise, regardless of where we are at. Because you can outgrow, and I've seen people outgrowing from hawking, getting those marimaris from Kirinyaga Road or from Kamukunji, and they have outgrown marimari. Then they do what we call consolidated cargo. They start importing their small portions of cargo from China or from Dubai or any other source. Then they outgrow those the consolidated cargo. They go to full load containers. Then from there they decide, okay, as we are doing the full load containers, I can do 5 or 10 containers, but I think I can be able to do manufacturing in the country. So they go back even to their manufacturers and they say, why can't you open a similar factory here and we partner together? You know, so you started from a very small, you know, humble beginnings. Then you have outgrown, you grow from one level to another. And it's a high time you also look at where we are going as micro, small, medium enterprises and take advantage of information. There's a lot of information out there. There are a lot of institutions out there willing to help us, from government to private institutions, to financial institutions, and not only even locking here in the country, but also international institutions who actually, they want even to fund the micro. So if you are doing, let's say, for example, avocado, if you are selling avocado, how do you add value? Value addition of the avocado, you can dry the avocado and you can export that avocado. You just need to build your capacity to do that, you know. And we have seen other people, even they started selling avocados, they were brokers from the farmer, to the person who is exporting. But they saw, okay, they got a connection, then they got financial aid, they got financial information and help. So they're actually exporting. And the avocado industry is a huge industry. When you go to Southern America, it's guarded like heroin. You get. So when you're looking at that, I think it's a high time as a micro small media. It's a challenge. Looking at the hard times that we are in right now, finances, we must be able to safeguard, because we are highly liquid, and sometimes we may not be able to differentiate between the seed money and our profits and our profit margins. So you may find that you put a seed money of 50,000 or 100,000 shillings, and your sales are 3 times, so you get 300,000 shillings, and you may think all that is your money, but you have the overheads, you have to pay your employees, you have to pay for electricity, you have to pay for the ndudi man, your rider, you have to pay all those things. So you may find you have 300,000 in your pocket, and you are just unachomoa tu kamoja and you eat into your seed money. So it's important when you are running businesses, also make sure that also you pay yourself a salary. So all that money is not your money. Give yourself an allowance. Say every month, if this business is worth a turnover of 300,000 a month, I'm giving myself 50,000. Live within the 50,000. The other money is business money. Live within the 50,000. Rent a house that is within your 50,000 salary. Go like you are employed with that 50,000. Yeah. From there you grow. From you grow from now that 50,000. Now you can add yourself as your turnovers are going high. You can also go and keep on improving your life. But the moment you don't differentiate between the seed money, the capital plus the profit margins, you mix all that money together, then you're on your way down.
On your way down. All right. You mentioned something that brought another question I also want to ask Frank, is you mentioned that people are going to Congo, others have seen opportunities in Rwanda and Uganda.
Yes.
Frank, in the years and in your interaction with businesses, what do you think about the ease of doing business in Kenya? How, like the ease of registering a company, starting it out, getting all the certifications that you need and all that, and just generally as compared to our partners in the region, and if they're doing better than us, what can we do to get to that level?
Yeah, I'm listening to him speak, and I'm just thinking, if there's one thing that we should be all proud of, is that Kenyans are very entrepreneurial people. And, it's one thing for us as Kenyans to think that, but actually when you go out there, you do hear people, other countries are looking at us like, man, you guys are doing very well. We are very aggressive. They look to us to be like, how do I get this aggressiveness of Kenyans?
And even Kenyans in those countries.
Yes, because, we actually export even business. There's a guy called Kemani in Botswana who joined our program, like, you're a Kikuyu, what are you doing joining from Botswana?
Yes.
But it happens like that. But so when you have such a thing, that's our resource, that's our gold. Kenya might not have as much gold as Uganda did find the other day and all of that, but our people power, that's so awesome. And so we have a government, on the one hand, is being very supportive with the Hustler Fund and all of these things. But it's almost like with one hand you give, with one hand you also take, right? And so we do have restrictive policies that we feel that SMEs could really benefit from. Today, I think it's in today's newspaper that President Kagame of Rwanda is actually talking to the business board over there and really getting on their case, because they have not established a one-stop shop for people to get certified, so that it becomes that much easier to just start a business, right? And I think that's something else also in Kenya.
Yet with that,
yes,
his government is actually praised for.
Oh yeah.
It prays, yes.
No. That's the amazing part, is that they're already doing so well, but he is in pursuit of excellence. And so he's saying, it's fine what we're doing, but we're not there yet, right? As opposed to us in Kenya, I would say we like to really pat ourselves on the back.
That's what we pick up.
tumefika hapa.
Relax.
Angalia hawa majirani wetu, you know, and it's, you know, and then we're like, oh yeah, we're so much better off. But we do have a lot of ways to go. If you look at the business friendliness index that comes out every year, it seems like Kenya is actually going in the opposite direction. And that's because with devolution, we've suddenly introduced these two layers of government, that this layer of government wants, you know, these certifications, these payments, these permits, and then the county government also has its own things. And then, of course, we have KRA on the other side. And how, you know, it becomes almost like a full-time job for an entrepreneur just to keep on top of everything that the government wants done. And so in a general sense, I would just say to the government is, you already have positioned yourself in a very good place as pro-business, right? I think there's one thing that this government has said is we want to come in and support SMEs, and they're to be lauded for that. But can they look into these things of how can we help, first of all, the micros, right? Make that, because the person who's having that really small business, you know, when you start sending Kanjo after them, you know, for the whole day so that they can't even set up before Kanjo comes there and they want to be bribed, all those things, you know, how can we make sure that that becomes easier for those people, right? For the bigger SMEs, again, how can we make their engagements with KRA more collaborative, right? I think everybody, I would say, okay, maybe not everybody, but most people want to pay their taxes. It's something good. We see that, you know, taxes are good. They provide for security, they provide for our roads, they provide for infrastructure and all of that, right? But don't come and surprise me and tell me, oh, there was this one thing that, based on the law that was passed yesterday, turns out you're wrong, so now we're going back 10 years. And we're going to penalize you, all of this. So you start thinking, do I shut down my business? Because I don't have the 100 million shillings that they're telling me to pay, right? So let's not be friends on one side, adversaries on the other hand. Let's compound everything and try to really support SMEs, because this is our resource that we've been given. People who really know how to do business, are in love with doing business, want to do, and we could be very far if we just support our SMEs, is what I would say.
All right. And what do you think? Sammy,
you know,
nodding your head already.
you know, Frank. Frank will be now one of my very good friends. He's speaking our language. Very true. Yeah. Because the micro, let me talk about the micro. The micro, small, medium enterprise, but let me just narrow down the micro. The micro just needs designated areas of operation. Frank has said fantastic things. Let me narrow down on that micro. Designated areas of operation, harmonization of those licenses. Why should we have 10, 15 licenses? For example, if you go to downtown, to a shoe shiner, when I came to Nairobi, I used to run some shoe shines. I could pay even for the fire license or something like that, and I'm operating outside, and it's a kibanda kind of biashara, you get. So why should I pay that? You know, when you look at the harmonization of the licenses is an issue. So the government cannot be an adversary on one side and an enhancer on the other side. Their policies must align with their vision. Whatever they say, they must do. Because the moment they say this and they do a different thing, then it becomes a whole issue even of trust. Because when you're looking at tax is about patriotism. I am paying tax because I am a Kenyan. And I also expect services by paying taxes. What is the value that I receive by paying off my taxes? So when you find that the government just wants to siphon money, let me just use that word, to siphon money from the businesses, and they are not looking at those businesses as partners. And I usually say it is not a slave, it is not a slave-master relationship. Right. It is a partnership that you are having. You should come into my business and sit down with me and tell me, if, for example, you are demanding, let's say, 50 or 20 or 100,000 shillings. I come, I show you my books. Trust me that those are my books. Don't think I'm cooking those books. You know, we sit down and we agree, I owe you this much. Because I'm not going to close tomorrow, what am I supposed to? I'm going to give you 20,000 shillings. These 80,000 shillings, I'm going to split it and stagger it in the next 2 years, and I'll be paying my monthly obligation, because it's a partnership that the government is supposed to have with businesses. But the moment they don't put that human face, and they put a master-slave relationship, they just initiate that, and that's why you find that most of the people don't pay taxes, and they don't pay taxes because they feel it's like a master-slave relationship.
Yeah.
The reason why people pay taxes is because you are partners and you enter into an agreement. Is an emphasis I'm making, that the government, as they are listening to us, come to businesses as partners, sit down with them, see how they are doing, and from there, because these are long time, actually it's a lifetime engagement. You stop paying taxes when you die, so you have to pay taxes, and because it's a long term thing, it's like a marriage. So what you do, sit down and agree, because you're not going to exit anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's something that they have to do. The other thing is the policies that they make. When this government came on board, they said it's going to be a hustler nation, it's going to be a hustler government. So how many hustlers are we seeing in decision-making platforms? You get, because you're supposed to put strategic people in those boards, in those positions, people who you have identified yourself with. It's very, very important for you to do that, because how do you come up with policies and laws of a certain interest group like micro, small, medium enterprises without one of their representations there, or one of their representatives there? So even when you are doing what we call public participation, who do you talk to? You see, because these are people with they have their own challenges, but they have also their own solutions. So these are people, as Frank is saying, they are going to come on the table and tell you, this is a challenge that I have, but I'm also thinking that the government can do A, B, C, D to facilitate us further, and we are going to solve this situation. But you can't be a know-it-all government, and you cannot also put people who are not in touch with the interest group that you're talking about, and that is the mistake every regime makes. Every regime makes. I don't know whether they are held hostage, but every regime makes that. We had a regime, I'm not going to name which one, and one of the CSs, or one of the ministers, let me just say that, of trade, we went for a meeting and we had very senior people there, and we were talking about the Nyamakema issue and down there. And we asked one of the senior guys, now that we have come, we have taken tea, we have discussed about policy, we have discussed about those things, when are you going to visit us? Then that person who's sitting in a very strategic position in the government, a very senior position, comes and says, hey, where now you're downtown Mecca? This is the 5th or 6th year. So you are in, so 6 years down the line, you have never been down there. You are in your AC office. You want to make policies in the boardroom for us down there. So what kind of policies, what kind of policies are you going to make? You are going to make policies which are not in touch with the common mwananchi down there. So if you are making those policies, get people who you have identified, who have started from scratch down there, who identify with these other people, and even the government, even those people themselves, while wako huko mashinani, they can say, this is our person who is in there. So I think that is very important for the government.
All right. Well, I'm being told time is actually we've gone over time. 4 minutes over. But we'd like to say thank you so much. But before I let both of you go, you seem to have a lot of wealth of information, and also I can't let you go without. There are people who have already started texting me. They're asking about where you say there's a deadline, where they're applying, and also some of your social media handles that they can reach out to.
Yes. So I think the easiest way, without getting into fancy addresses and all of that, just type Stanford Seed into Google. It'll bring in the Stanford Seed program. If you say the Seed Transformation Program, it'll open up into the exact page that you need to start your application process. There's a brochure there and a lot of other information. If you do the same thing on YouTube, you will see a lot of video clips about the people who've gone through our particular program, and you can hear testimonials about them. The Stanford Seed Transformation Program application for the class of 2024 just opened on March 1st until May 15th. We are taking applications. So if you're a business that does 300,000 and over, please look at us. I think Sami and I are those sorts of organizations that we connect entrepreneurs to a lot of resources. We connect you. We're the buffer between you and the government and all of that. We have a lot of value to give you. The Aspire program is done by the African Management Institute. Again, if you look them up on their website, there is the Aspire program. I think the deadline is next week on the 13th. They launch their next cohort on the 23rd. Both programs, the Aspire program and the Seed Transformation program, are Pan-African. Right. So you will be sitting there with our Nigerian brothers, our Ghanaian brothers, and all of that. You learn so much from each other. I would highly, highly encourage people to apply, and especially as today is Women's Day, let me say Happy Women's Day to all the female entrepreneurs. We're offering you up to a 60% discount. Actually, Aspire is doing 75% discount because we support women. Karibu.
All right.
Very nice.
Okay, Sami, how can the MSMEs, how can they get in touch with you and the alliance? Some probably have said, kuna kwanga na alliance. So now tell them how they can do that.
And also maybe on a lighter note, Frank should also, during Men's Day,
yes,
they should also
give us
a discount.
Boy child.
The boy child should be looked into. Yes, but when you go to our social media handles, MSME Alliance of Kenya, we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, and we are also on Instagram. MSME Alliance of Kenya, MSME Alliance of Kenya. You're going to find us there. It's very interactive. You ask any question, you're going to show you where our offices are. They are at Railways. You're going to find our receptionist there. Any contacts, they are there. My contacts are also there. You can reach us. Yes, yes.
All right, well, I'd like to say thank you so much. I hope that the conversation helped you in one shape or form. I tell you what, like Frank said, and like everybody has agreed on this table, is that Kenyans are very innovative. Kenyans, we want to, hata sisi tunataka kutengeneza pesa. Hizi pesa tunasomanga mara wamesign 15 billion, mara sijini, hata sisi tungependa siku moja. I had a teacher who used to tell me, Willis, sitaki kusikia umeshikiwa pesa ndogo. Kama ni kushika kwa pesa kubwa. But that is of course the wrong mentality. The basis of it is that if you have an environment where people can do business and make money and plow it back into the economy, then a lot of the problems that we have will be solved. And so I like what also Sami said, that let the people who are in these positions be able to have that connection with the ground. And also get that information, learn about people like Frank, learn about also people like Sami, and hopefully it has helped you and will move you towards the right direction and give you at least some hope. If at the very least give you some hope that things are moving in the up and up, no matter what it is that you read. Well, like I said, thank you so much. Make sure you reach out to them. Asanteni sana for all of you, or some of your messages. I tried to ask some of the questions that you sent. Shukuru sana. I guess we'll meet tomorrow. Kesho ni Thursday. Thursday watu natia ndani. Nakula. So we'll see you tomorrow right here. And especially tomorrow I'll be eating extra because of what Ayub have been taking me through because of Manchester United. But asanteni sana, and make sure you follow me as well at Willis Raburu on all platforms. Though, after that defeat, I'm on a social media break. But I'll be back. Peace and love.